There are days when we wake up with a tight heart, as if tomorrow were too dangerous to be stepped on. Fear of what can happen, anxiety about what has not yet come, and doubt about what to do today, all this mixes and weighs. It's like walking with blindfolded eyes, trying to hit the way in the dark. But what if I told you that tomorrow already has an owner, and that this owner is not just knowledgeable of the future? Is he already there? Yes, God is already in your tomorrow. And more than that, he prepared the way even before you take the first step. It changes everything. It is not about predicting every detail or having all the answers. It's about trusting. Faith is not absence of fear. It is a choice to choose to follow even without seeing. And if fear says stop, trust in God says go, because he has gone ahead. You don't have to have control when you are in the hands of those who have all the power. The question that remains is, will you keep trying to carry the weight alone, or will you give that future to whom you can turn it? This journey is about exchanging anxiety for hope, fear for action, despair for prayer. In this content, we will explore together how this confidence can become real, practical, and powerful. Let's talk about fears, trials, promises, and the kind of faith that moves mountains, not magic, but with vision, courage, and obedience. And who knows, in the end, you don't find out that the greatest transformation happens within you. So you prepare, because this conversation will poke deep areas, but also raise you with purpose and vision. After all, God not only wrote his story, he gives you power to live each chapter with faith and confidence. Let's go together. Fear is a master of creating scenarios that will never happen. He paints the future with dark tones, erases God's promises, and makes us doubt the purpose. But faith is light in the midst of the fog. It does not mean that the challenges disappear, but we choose to trust, even without seeing. Faith is the courage to walk even when your feet tremble. Many people think faith is a magical sense of constant peace. But in practice, it is more a decision than an emotion. It is choosing confidence when everything in you screams for control. It is looking for the unknown and saying, God is already there. Fear paralyzes. Active faith. One holds you, the other pushes you. When you let fear rule, you lose sight of the fate God designed for you. It is as if to say, God, I know more than the Lord. It sounds hard, but it's true. Confidence is an act of surrender. And the amazing? This surrender opens doors that fear would never open. Because where there is faith, there is movement. How many opportunities do we have left to fear? That job vacancy, the course, the ministry, even a request for forgiveness. God calls us to walk on the waters, but we are in the safety of the boat. The question is, do you want security or destination? God does not work in the comfort zone. He operates in obedience. Anxiety deceives us, making it seem that it all depends on our performance. But trusting God is to remember that the future is not just about us. He is the author of the story, and he already knows the end from the beginning. It changes the game. When you rest on this truth, anxiety loses strength. Prayer becomes your weapon, not fear. Imagine if Abraham had frozen in the face of fear to hear God's call. He would have lost the purpose that changed generations. Fear looks at now. Faith looks at what does not yet exist, but has already been promised. And whoever walks with God learns something sooner or later. The future is safe territory when he is in control. If you feel you are paralyzed today, take a deep breath. Remember, you have not been called to survive, but to advance with vision. Change fear for faith and see how things begin to move. Faith connects you to the miracle, the promise, to action. And the most beautiful? You find that even with your heart beating hard, you can walk with courage. There are times when life gives us such a sound that looks like the end of the line. But what if this no is just a redirect? God closes doors that do not match our purpose, not for evil, but for mercy. What seems defeat is actually a route adjustment. Faith is to trust even when heavenly GPS changes without warning. Think at that moment when everything went out: a canceled project, broken friendship, broken plans. It hurts. But divine preparation often begins with dismantling what we build without consulting God. It's like reforming an old house you need to break before renewing. The problem is that we only see the rubble. God already sees the plant ready. God does not waste pain. Each tear can be a seed if you plant with faith. The apparent setback is often the necessary impulse to throw you further. It is like the elastic that needs to be pulled to gain strength. The problem is that we feel the tension, but don't see fate. That is why confidence is vital. Do you know that job you have lost? Or that opportunity that escaped? Perhaps it was deliverance. God sees beyond what the eyes see. As you cry through the closed door, He is preparing another one that didn't even cross your head. And when it opens, it will make perfect sense. What seemed end was just beginning. Nehemiah did not rebuild the walls of Jerusalem easily. It had opposition, tiredness, and criticism. But he knew that was not defeat. It was part of the process. The same goes for you. Just because it is difficult, it doesn't mean that God has abandoned you. Sometimes He is just training His spiritual muscles for something bigger. Obedience often leads us to deserts, not palaces. But the desert has lessons that comfort never teaches. This is where we learn to depend, to listen, to mature. God works in silence, pause, waiting. And every minute is part of a preparation that you will only understand looking back. So the next time something goes wrong, ask a different question. What do you want to show me with it? This simple change of perspective can open your vision. Instead of murmuring, pray. Instead of complaining, thank you for the management. Because in God, nothing is loss. Everything is preparation. There are times when the promise seems too far away, almost like a dream we had and forgot. But God is not a man to lie, nor the Son of Man to repent. What He promised, He will fulfill. It may not be in your time, but it will be in the perfect time. Faith is to continue walking even when the landscape has not changed. Many people give up on the promise because it confuses it delayed with negation. But the wait is often a trusted test. In Proverbs 3 verses 5 and 6 is the secret trust in the Lord of all your heart, and He will straighten your paths. It does not say that you will understand the way, but that He will make Him straight. This is promise. God's promise is firm, but the process can be unstable. Anxiety hits, fear whispers, and doubt appears dressed in logic. But that's where faith comes in, not blind faith, but a firm faith in the Word. The Word is the divine contract. And if God signed, you can wait with confidence. The promise is the anchor in the midst of the storm. Have you noticed how short our spiritual memory is? We forget about past victories when a new fight arises. But God has not changed. The same that has paved the Red Sea can make way today as well. The promise does not expire. And even when everything seems opposite, God is working behind the scenes. Confidence needs to be fed. Read the scriptures, declare the promises aloud. Take verses that speak to your heart and repeat until faith grows more than fear. This is spiritual action. You are not waiting with your arms crossed, you are positioning yourself. And whoever positions themselves sees miracles happen. Sometimes what delays the promise is not time, but our posture. As we wait, we need to align with the purpose. Obedience and faith walk together. It is no use wanting fate without crossing the process. God honors fidelity in little, and when He releases what He promised, He is greater than we imagine. It is not about if, it is about when. When God speaks, He fulfills. And even if everything says the opposite, His word is what sustains. Your faith may be small today, but even the smallest seed grows when planted on the right ground. Trust. What God has promised for you is already on the way. It remains only to stay firm until it arrives. Let's talk about people who trusted when everything seemed opposite. Abraham is an excellent starting point. God promises a son when he is already old, and his wife too. Anyone would say it was impossible, but he believed and his faith was told as justice. This is trusting without seeing. It is walking with vision, not logic. Moses is another strong example. A man with speech difficulties, called to confront the greatest empire of the time. He had everything to go wrong, but he went. Why? Because God assured that He would be with him. Confidence was not in his ability, but in the divine presence. The secret has always been the company, not capacity. Noah built an ark under a cloudless sky. Imagine the scene: hammered, mockery, years of waiting. And yet he continued. Why? Because God had spoken. Faith is that obeying even when everything around says you're going crazy. Noah trusted a word that was not yet meaningful, and that saved his home. Nehemiah rebuilt walls with one hand on the tool and one in the sword. He faced criticism, threats, and opposition, but did not go back. When you have a clear view of God, the external noise does not paralyze you. Nehemiah shows that trust also requires action. Praying is essential, but raising and acting with courage is also part of the journey. Hosea is another giant of confidence. Betrayed by the brothers, sold as a slave, unjustly arrested. At any time, he could have given up, but kept the vision. He knew there was a purpose, and when the reunion happened, he said, "It was God who sent me before you." This is seeing purpose even in pain. David trusted God in the countryside, the palace, and the caves. He knew that his identity did not come from the circumstances, but from the promise. He did not need to force the crown. God would deliver it at the right time. Sometimes, trusting is choosing not to defend yourself, not justifying, not rushing. It is resting on the larger plane. These men were not perfect. They made mistakes, doubted, hesitated, but they trusted. And that is the good news. God does not require perfection. It requires surrender. They all prove that true faith is not the absence of fear. It is courage to follow even shaking. They show that confidence is the way for transformation and faith. We usually see trial as punishment, but in fact it is a laboratory. God does not waste pain. He uses every challenge to cut character, strengthen faith, and prepare for greater things. The problem is that we want promise without process, victory without training. But even miracle requires fertile ground, and this terrain is watered with tears and prayer. David learned to trust God in the countryside before facing Goliath. Bears and lions were hidden training. Sometimes what you live today is just a warning that God will still deliver you. And if you don't understand that, you may think you're being forgotten when you're actually being prepared. The wait is one of the most difficult tests. When nothing changes outside, it is inside that God works. He moves vision, intentions, hidden fears. You look and think, nothing is happening, but the sky is moving. Faith is to continue even when there is no sign of visible progress. It is confidence in action. The trials also reveal where our confidence really is. When everything goes well, it is easy to declare faith. But what about resources dry? When does the yes come? When does prayer seem unanswered? The trial is mirror. It shows whether we are supported by God or results. And God, with love, calls us closer. The desert is not end of line, it is classroom. Israel took 40 years to understand this. They had the promise, but they didn't have their hearts shaped to receive it. God is so good that it does not deliver blessing to those who are not ready. And yes, that sometimes hurts. But his love is more committed to transformation than to haste. Pain is not a sign of abandonment. It is a sign of investment. A potter only breaks and redoes the vase he intends to wear. So if you feel you are being ground, it may be because God is about to reposition you. The trial is not the end. It is the beginning of something new. Trust. Continue. Today's training is tomorrow's promotion. There are things that only proof reveals: real dependence, firm faith, practical courage. And when you understand this, it comes to live the trial with another look. Not as a victim, but as a warrior being forged. God does not take you out of the fire. He enters the fire with you. Because in the end, the purest gold is the one that has gone through the highest temperature. Trusting in God is not something that happens automatically. It is a daily, intentional construction made of conscious choices. And to make this confidence real, there are practical steps that can transform your walk. The first of them? Constant prayer. Not only when chaos appears, but as a lifestyle. To pray is to keep your heart aligned with the sky. Constant prayer need not be complicated. Start with 5 minutes a day of sincere conversation with God. Talk like who talks to a friend because he is. Separate a place. Take a deep breath and open the heart. This is not a formula, but a presence. And the more you pray, the more your vision adjusts to God's purpose. The second step is to declare the promises aloud. Yes, talk. There is power when you vocalize the word. Take verses like Isaiah 41:10, Psalms 23, or Philippians 4 and 6. Read, memorize, declare. This strengthens the mind and trains the spirit. Faith comes from listening, and hearing the truth changes the way you face anxiety and fear. Philippians 4 verses 6 and 7 is a powerful key. Do not look anxious for anything. This is order, not suggestion. But God also gives the way prayer, supplication, and gratitude. This combo changes the environment. When you pray and declare with faith, anxiety begins to lose strength. Not because problems add up, but because you change inside. The third step is to take attitudes with faith. Pedro only walked over the waters because he got out of the boat. And there is something that only happens when you move. It's no use praying for response and then not acting. Confidence is also shown in small daily decisions. Forgive, start over, take a step even without seeing the floor. Want to practice? Write small goals that require a step of faith. It can be to apply to that vacancy, resume the project, start the devotional regularly. With each step, you prove you believe. Action does not replace prayer, but confirms the faith. Who trusts, acts. And God honors the movement that is born of obedience. These 3 steps, constant prayer, declare promises, and act with faith, are like ropes that support you in the middle of the crossing. They do not take the wind, but help you not sink. Trusting in God is daily, practical, and powerful choice. And the more you exercise, the more it becomes natural. It's a muscle. The more you use, the stronger it gets. In the midst of battles, it is common to feel that no one understands what you are going through. But there is a truth that needs to be at the center of your mind. You are not alone. God does not observe from afar. He walks with you. His presence is constant, even when silence seems to scream louder. The sky is not in break, it is acting. The feeling of abandonment can be strong, especially when the results take time. But remember, absence of response is not the absence of God. It acts behind the scenes, in the details, in the exact time. No mistakes of the past can nullify His plan. Your future continues in the hands of the one who loves you with unconditional love. Have you read Psalm 139 calmly? He says there is no place where we can escape the presence of God, neither at the top of the heavens, nor in the depths of pain. This is powerful, that even when you don't feel, He's there. What's more, it surrounds you everywhere. It is protection. It's careful. It is a God who does not give up even when we almost give up. Fear often lies saying that you were forgotten. Anxiety suggests that God is late. But the truth is that it is in control all the time. He knows where it hurts, sees what no one sees, and keeps guiding you, even when your steps are stumbling. It requires no strength, requires delivery. What you need is to trust, not control. You have a Father who does not fail. What's more, it has the Holy Spirit as a constant counselor. When everything is confused, stop and listen. He speaks through the Word, people, simple moments. Sometimes heaven whispers as the mind screams. You need to silence inside to hear the right direction. You have not been dropped in the dark. God specializes in restarts. Even if you think it spoiled everything, it can turn chaos into purpose. Its history is still under construction, and He's good at making new chapters that surprise. Trust is not ignoring the past. It is believing that the author is still writing the end, and the end will be better than the beginning. Then take a deep breath and remember the sky is on your side. Even in trials, there is a purpose. Even in silence, there is direction. God is present, active, and intentional with every detail of your life. And if He is already in your tomorrow, you can rest today. Do not walk alone, walk with whom you have won everything for you. After all this, the question that remains is, what are you going to do with what you heard here? Will you keep trying to control each step, or will you deliver the direction to those who are already in your tomorrow? God is ready to act, but He expects His decision. Faith is not just theory, it is practical. And confidence only grows when it is placed in motion. Isn't it time to put fear aside and start walking with more courage? Is this whole anxiety not, in fact, an invitation for you to pray more, to hear more, to act more with faith? What can you change today to live with more confidence in God's purpose? No matter where you are now, God wants to take you beyond. He wants to restore His vision, renew His strength, turn his struggles into testimonies. But it starts with one step trusting. And if you take this step, you can be sure the sky will move in your favor. Then reflect, pray, declare the promises, take concrete steps. Because God not only knows your tomorrow, He is there, waiting for you to arrive with faith, courage, and vision. If this content told you, if you helped you in any way, if you lit something inside your heart, subscribe to the channel and activate the notifications. There is a lot more coming around, and I want to walk with you on this journey of faith and transformation.